Hello, this is my third installment of Spooky Stories in the Rain. And since it seemed like most people enjoyed the Paris catacombs the most, that is what this whole story is going to consist of. This article is written by Aaron Deheck, and it is over 10 creepy things you didn't know about the Paris catacombs. 17th century Paris was a bustling metropolis and the largest city in Europe. It was a time of great invention, expansion, and imagination. Since Paris wasn't a young city, its cemeteries were overcrowded, so much so that bodies were often easily unearthed. Residents in certain neighborhoods, like those nearby Les Innocents, the oldest cemetery in the city, would complain of overwhelming odors of decomposing bodies. This caused major health problems for the living citizens and ultimately required bodies to be moved from the cemeteries. The challenge was where quarries run beneath the city of Paris, mined for limestone, which was used to build the city above. Paris authorities decided on using the tomb ossuary quarries. Sorry if I butchered that, I am not French. At the time, ran just outside of the city, and that had been out of use since the 15th century. Once this was decided, over 6 million remains were moved into the catacombs. The process of moving the remains from the cemeteries of Paris into the catacombs was a complex process that took over 12 years to complete. The first cemetery emptied was Les Innocents, which, after a long spring of rain, caused bodies to spill out when a wall crumbled. The bodies were moved under the cover of darkness in order to tamp down on reactions from the church and Parisians. The catacombs beneath Paris were originally dug-out quarries where limestone was mined centuries before. The part of the tunnels now houses the municipal ossuary. It's not a far stretch to think some of the tunnels might be filled with water. There's even a short documentary called The City of the Sea that gives an insider view of what it's like to explore and swim in the catacombs. It's not for the faint of heart, and anyone who's not a fan of confined spaces wouldn't do well on this adventure. But you can still live this adventure vicariously through the video, which is probably good enough for most people. As the bones were brought into the catacombs, they were dumped in piles, completely disorganized as remains were removed from Paris's cemeteries. Louis Etienne Percart de Thury, butchered again probably, oversaw the transformation of the quarries into the eerie art that still exists in the catacombs today. He directed his team to stack femurs and skulls to form walls that essentially created an art museum of death below the streets of Paris. Under his direction, archways with inscriptions warning visitors were also added. As bones were organized in the catacombs, they were formed into a variety of shapes: hearts, crosses, a giant barrel of femurs and skulls. But there is other art to be found in the catacombs. The sculptures of Decoeur are one example. Francois Decoeur was a quarry worker who spent some of his time working in the quarries creating small but incredible sculptures in the walls of the limestone sections of the catacombs. He carved images of the Quartier de Caserne, Port Phillip, and even the Port Mahon prison. Decour was killed during a cave-in the catacombs, but his unique contribution is very much a lasting part of the tunnels. All bad guys need a secret lair, and the catacombs were once used to pull off a nefarious heist. In 2017, a group of thieves used the catacombs to access the underground vault of a nearby apartment building. They drilled through the limestone walls to gain access to a collection of vintage wine with a value of nearly $275,000. Yet another infamous story for the catacomb archives. People will look for any excuse to throw a party, and who wouldn't want to go crazy in the catacombs? Stories claim that King Charles X would throw secret parties in the tunnels when he was merely the Comte d'Artois. Musicians have held illegal concerts, and there has certainly been more than one trespasser that has spent the night in the catacombs. Police have also stumbled upon a room that had been turned into a movie theater, complete with a screen projector and even a full restaurant. Nothing could top watching a scary movie in the tunnels on Halloween. The catacombs have been used for many things, but one of the oddest might be the cultivation of mushroom. There are several stories about how farmers stumbled upon using the underground tunnels for growing mushrooms, but one such story says that deserts from the Napoleonic army hid there and found that it was the perfect environment for growing mushrooms. This discovery didn't stay a secret for long, and soon other farmers rushed to plot out their own space for mushrooms. This practice still exists today and produces a mushroom with exceptional flavor. The catacombs beneath Paris have been used in the past by deserters of Napoleon's army as a hideout, so it's not a surprise that they were used in World War II as well. The French resistance used the tunnels, which travel beneath most of Paris, to organize and plan for attacks against the Nazis. It was also found that the Nazis had several bunkers in the tunnels. There is also a group of explorers and thrill seekers called the cataphiles, who like to spend their time beneath the city in the catacombs. This group of individuals are explorers who roam the more than 170 miles of tunnels that fall outside of the catacombs. They have set up rooms with murals and graffiti, or they have come to find a place of calm within the bustling city of Paris. They are very protective of the tunnel's entrances and risk the possibility of a fine if they are caught by police. There is also the chance of injury since the tunnels are dark, rocks can fall, and there are pools of water as well. But for some, the danger is part of the experience. This next bit of information is from an article by Sean Finelli. There are many legends and folklore surrounding this cemetery. Who doesn't love a good story? The fact of the matter is that some places have a propensity to produce better stories than others. This is by far one of the creepiest Paris catacombs legends. In the early 1990s, a group of cataphiles, which is people who study and explore the Paris catacombs on a regular basis, they were walking through the dark chambers of the cemetery. They happened upon a video camera on the ground. To their surprise, the camera had footage on it As the group watched the footage, they heard disturbing noises. It became apparent that the man holding the video camera was lost and had no idea how to escape. In the video, the audience can clearly draw that the man is going mad inside of the underground network of tunnels. The video ends abruptly with the man dropping his camera on the ground. To this day, no one knows who this man was or if he came out alive. Many believe that the movie As Above, So Below was inspired by this tragedy. Possibly linked to the video camera story, a famous Paris catacombs legend says that a mystifying thing occurs within the burial site after midnight. The legend says that if you are inside of the Paris catacombs after midnight, the walls begin to speak. Disembodied voices will try to persuade you to venture deeper and deeper into the catacombs until you can't find your way out. During the French Revolution, a man named Philbert Asperet was a doorman at the Val de Grace Hospital. On a mission to fetch a certain liqueur from a cellar, Philbert actually ended up entering the Paris catacombs instead. Walking around the pitch-black catacombs alone with just a single candle, Philbert became incredibly lost and confused. Many people believe he may have been intoxicated at the time as well. Philbert's candle blew out, making his vision completely black. At this point, it was virtually impossible for him to escape the profound darkness of the catacombs. His body was not found until 11 years later when a group of cataphiles uncovered it. They identified him by the hospital keyring hanging from his belt. He is buried in the catacombs in the exact same place where he died, with the tombstone describing his death. Cataphiles and catacombs folklore tellers say that each November 3rd, Philbert's ghost haunts the labyrinth of the catacombs. In 2004, a group of police officers was exploring a part of the Paris catacombs restricted from public access, and they began to uncover very strange things. First, they found a PA system with pre-recorded guard dog barking noises playing. Then they found 3,000 square feet of galleries wired for phones using pirated electricity. The officers found a bar, living area, workshop, lounge, and even a cinema with a room to seat 20 people. The cinema seats had been carved into the stones of the catacombs. The creepiest part was, they saw cameras on the ceilings recording them. The police squad went back to the area a few days later with a larger team to further investigate. Everything they had discovered from the phone lines to the Paris Catacombs cinema had vanished. The only thing they found? A note that read, "Don't search." Well, I hope you enjoyed this story of the Paris Catacombs by the two different authors. I thought it was interesting, a little bit more information to give you. Also, if you are here, if you're interested in odd antiques and vintage, then you might want to check out my regular content that I do all the time. So until next time, guys, good night, sleep tight, don't let the ghosties bite.